Hey everyone, it's Jenn Foster here with Elite Expert Insider Podcast. We are really excited to have Jamie Mittelman here with us today. Jamie has a background in media and she has managed over $30 million in media portfolio on behalf of Yahoo, Huffington Post, AOL, and Verizon. And her passion for sports diversity and inclusion inspired her to found Flame Bearers. So Jamie, welcome. Tell us a little more about you and Flame Bearers. We're excited to dive into this.
Thanks, Jen. Excited to be here. So Flame Bearers is the first storytelling platform that elevates the voices of women Olympians and Paralympians. So when you look at the sports landscape as a whole, historically, about 3 to 5% of sports media coverage has gone to women athletes. There's a brand new study that shows that number's up to 15% of sports media going to women athletes. So that still means that 85% of coverage goes to male athletes. So what we try to do is we address the quantity issue, so who's being covered, but then also how they're being covered. So we work with women from around the world. We've worked with women from over 70 countries. So, and half of them have physical disabilities, half of them, pretty much all of them are unheard voices. So we do this because we think it's really important that everyone has a story to be told and that we can learn from everyone.
Awesome. And so with these stories, you have a podcast, and then do you share it on any other platforms like a blog, or how else do you share their stories?
Great question. So 3 verticals. So we do podcasting, video, and live events. Historically, we've focused on podcasting. We have then also started to get into video. So repurposing our video, our interviews for social media, for YouTube. So we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, but then also producing video first content as well. I also mentioned events. So what those are is where they can either be in person or they can be virtual. And we bring together athletes to share their stories, either one-on-one in a fireside chat format or in a panel discussion.
Awesome. Those live events sound really fun.
They're so fun. I think audience members really enjoy them because they get to interact with the Olympians and the Paralympians. They get to meet them. They get to ask them questions. So it's definitely a model that we're seeing significant interest in.
And do you do these all over the country, all over the world?
All over the country, hopefully starting to go international as well.
Oh, cool. Well, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into sports and what's your personal connection with sports?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Talking to you, I'll be a lot more honest about this than if I were to be talking to an Olympian or Paralympian. So my background, I grew up as an athlete, though when I'm working with the best in the world, I definitely don't identify that way. I put on kind of my marketing and communications hat. But personally, growing up, I was a 3-season athlete. I played soccer, I ski raced, and I ran track. In college, I played soccer for a little bit. And essentially, some of my most joyous memories and also some of the hardest lessons that I learned came from sport. And it was a way to bring people together. And some of the bonds I formed with my teammates, with my coaches, were really lifelong friendships. So for me, sport has really become one of my greatest teachers. And I realized that at the time of the pandemic, which is when I founded Flame Bearers, so 2020, people were very isolated. They were alone and frankly in need of inspiration and hope. And I think that sport is a great way to provide that and to bring people together. So that's why sports specifically. In terms of why women, I've always been really passionate about working with women and girls. Growing up, I was an international studies major, gender studies minor. My first job out of college, I worked at a women's university in Southeast Asia. I think the potential for women to improve our world and to be change makers is really untapped. And honestly, I just get along incredibly well with women and girls.
I love that. I loved doing sports when I was in high school and college. I wasn't on any pro teams or anything, but I like doing it for fun, for recreation.
Totally. And
baseball and basketball, all of them. I like them all.
It's the best. And to your point, that's why, when talking to you, I'll share that. But when I'm talking to literally the best athletes in the world, I don't try to connect with them on my sports prowess because they're like, oh, and which professional team were you on? And I'm like, I never played on a professional team.
Yeah. Yeah, I just played lightning with my kids at our family
Yeah.
reunion, but I won. So, well, I
There
didn't
you
win.
go.
My brother won, but I was second.
There you go. You showed up, you participated. That's what it's about.
Exactly. Well, I know a lot of people probably already know the difference between the Olympics and the Paralympics, but tell us a
Yep.
little bit more about that.
Yes. So great question. This is actually commonly confused. So the Olympics are what everyone kind of knows and thinks about with the Olympic rings. The Paralympics are for athletes with physical disabilities, and which is also different than the Special Olympics, which are cognitive disabilities. So there's a lot of confusion around the Olympics, what they are and what they're not. The Special Olympics is actually a completely separate entity and separate organization versus the International Olympic and Paralympic Committee works with both the Olympic and the Paralympic Games. Historically, though, the Paralympics are 2 weeks after the Olympics. So there's the able-bodied Olympics for athletes like Katie Ledecky or Michael Phelps. And then after that 2 weeks, there's the Paralympics. And what's interesting about this is historically they've been undercovered. The last Paralympics were the first time that they were ever shown on primetime television.
Mm-hmm.
And their attendance is significantly lower than the Olympics. So I just like to raise awareness for clear understanding of what those differences are, but then also how amazing these athletes are. If you're looking for role models and resilience and just incredible people, these athletes are literally top notch. So it's really important to us that half the athletes we work with are Paralympians. And, it's interesting. People often ask me, Jamie, where did your interest in working with para athletes come from? And the parallel that I draw is I started Flame Bearers right at the beginning of Black Lives Matter. And I am a white, able-bodied woman. And I was having a lot of conversations with my girlfriends about the role and responsibility that I, as a white person, have to talk about issues of race. That historically, those conversations have fallen on the shoulders of Black and Brown people, but that I, as a white person, had a responsibility and an opportunity to be an ally for people of color. And I realized that the same was true for ability, that as an able-bodied person, I had a responsibility and opportunity to have these conversations about ability that have historically fallen on the shoulders of individuals with disabilities. But frankly, they shouldn't be the only ones talking about these things.
Right. I think that's awesome. Yeah, when we had the Olympics here in Salt Lake City back in, when that was 2002, that was a long time ago. I volunteered, and then my former husband and I went to one of the hockey games for the Paralympics. And I was in awe of these athletes. Like, the hockey game is sledge hockey. And if you don't know what that is, they're in like a sled, and then they're using hockey sticks to pull themselves on the ice. So they're using their arms to move, just like in a wheelchair, but on the ice. And they were like amazing. They were like better than like the able-bodied hockey players. It was awesome. And then the craziest part is my former husband's from Canada, so he is wearing his Canadian jersey.
Okay.
So they chose him to go down on the ice and try it, like at halftime.
No way.
Or not halftime, but one of the breaks, because there's there's 3 periods. I do know hockey kind of, but anyway, he fell over. It was really hard for him. He couldn't even do it.
It's so hard.
And he's like a great hockey player, but not sitting on a sled. So it was super hard.
Jenn, it's so interesting you say that. That's one of the misconceptions that so many para athletes raise. And they're like, I wish that more able-bodied individuals like your husband would just try and play our sport the way we play it, because people assume that it's going to be easy and it's fine. And then they get out there and like, oh my goodness, this is insane. This is not easy.
He couldn't even balance, and let alone like try and make a goal,
So that's really funny.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, tell us some of your favorite guests that you've had on your show for your podcast.
This is such a tough question for me. I feel like I'm always being asked to choose between my unborn children, because I love every athlete that I work with, literally. 2 athletes that I will call out. The first is someone who is probably lesser known here in the US, and then the second is more of a household name. So Masomah Ali Zada is from Afghanistan. She's on the Olympic refugee team. So people are always interested in this because, I didn't know that there was an Olympic refugee team before I started working with her. So they work with individuals from war-torn countries like Iraq, Syria. She's from Afghanistan. And Masomah grew up in Kabul, and she's a cyclist. And she talks about how when she was in Kabul, how she would have to dress up as a man, and that a male rider would have to go in front of her and behind her, and then she'd have to be escorted by a truck in order to just go out to practice riding her bike.
Wow.
And I think, and then when cars would pass her, if they realized she was a woman, they would yell at her or throw stuff at her, or even sometimes hit her. And I think what is so striking about Masomah's story is the fact that she kept at this in the face of all of these horrible attacks on her. And she literally rose in the ranks of cycling globally to now be one of the best in the world. But then also how she's used her platform to elevate voices of other Afghan women. So she's really become a symbol of hope and light for many Afghan women who are still in the country. She now lives in France because she had to flee when the Taliban came in because they actually targeted her and her family. But she's become a voice for so many of them within the country who don't have the ability to speak up. So I think she's an incredible example of one individual who is not given the airtime or the amount of credit that I think she deserves.
Yeah.
Another individual, very different, but equally impressive, Sue Bird. Sue is more of a household name here in the US. She's kind of known as the GOAT of basketball. What I loved about working with Sue was getting to know her as an individual. So hearing about what she's passionate about and what wakes her up in the morning. A lot of people, she's considered the best in the world, but I asked her, Sue, what's your why? What gets you up in the morning? And she said, it's my nieces. It's this generation of girls who are growing up with female role models they can look up to in sports and say, I can be that because my aunt is a professional basketball player. So that was just a really helpful reminder to me that the current generation is serving as role models for all the young girls and boys out there who to see that if you can see it, you can become it. So that was really cool to hear.
I love that. I love that you focus in on the diversity and the broad range of different athletes and not just basketball or just cycling. Like I like how you do focus on all women.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I think we're at a turning point in women's sports where we have an opportunity to get this right. We have an opportunity to support women from all backgrounds. And I think it's really important that we elevate everyone together. And it's not just women from certain countries in popular sports, but really that we tell all of their stories. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So how do you overcome the language barrier when you're with all these international athletes?
Yeah, it's so hard. So we use translators. So it's important to us that if an athlete doesn't feel comfortable in English, which, hey, I only speak English and I have some Spanish, but it's important to us that when we're spotlighting them, they tell their stories, how they want it told. If they want to speak in another language, we'll get an interpreter and a translator to join the call with us. From an outreach perspective, it is a little challenging because sometimes I don't know which language I should reach out in, who to reach out to, the athlete or their agent. So that has been challenging. But I found that as we have grown, athletes are actually helping us facilitate those introductions. So we've been really lucky in the sense where, our goal is to produce their favorite pieces on them ever done. So at the end of the day, if Masomah was really happy with her piece, so she connected us to her friend who also, is from Afghanistan, and then we worked with her. So, the athlete network has helping us get around some of the language barriers because of our good relationships.
That's really good. Word of mouth is always good. Referrals and word of mouth.
Right. Exactly.
That's awesome. So what difference do you feel like or what kind of impact do you feel like you're making on the world with your flame bearers?
Yeah. So I think the way I like to answer this is in two parts. So the first is on the individuals we work with themselves. So the athletes themselves. Mansi Joshi, who is the para-badminton world champion, she's from India. She mentioned that after hearing a lot of stories through our work, she realized she had more similarities and more things in common with athletes who play different sports and are from different countries around the world. So she started to see relationships and connections to athletes who she previously didn't think she had commonalities with. That was really cool. To our community members who are not athletes and who are not Olympians and Paralympians, we've had dozens, hundreds of people reach out saying, thank you for telling these stories. I never felt seen or heard as a girl, as a young woman. I didn't have role models who I could look up to who looked and sounded like me. So thank you for telling these stories. I've had moms reach out saying, I like to share these stories with my sons so they know how strong women can be and what the range of women are who look like. So lots of feedback from lots of different parts of the spectrum.
I love that. I love that you're making such a big impact on the world. Do you have anything else you want to share with our audience today about flame bearers?
I would just say, if you're a woman or a girl and you participate in sport at any level, and that could be playing with your children, we would love to hear from you. Yes, we work with women at the highest level of sport, but really at our base, we're a community of women change makers who use sport as a conduit to talk about issues that impact everyone. So it could be motherhood, it could be racial justice, it could be pay disparity. And that's really what we focus on. We don't focus on, what was the score of the game, who won, but really the issues of the individual wearing the jerseys. So I would say, if anything of what I've shared today resonates, we would love to have you in our community. Follow us on social media, Flame Bearers, and you can reach out if you want to work with us in any capacity, flamebearers.com. We have a collaborate page.
Awesome. We'll put that up in the show notes. Everyone can go to flamebearers.com and check them out on podcast on what, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. You're there?
You nailed it. Exactly.
All right. Great. Well, thanks for listening today. Hope you guys have a great day. And if you'd like to publish a book or want to share your story with a book, contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. Talk to you soon.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full-spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.